What's going on, guys? This is Bumpstar, and today playing all the mods 10 with the sky. In today's episode, we are finally going to get into the, well, absolute basics of Mekanism. But by doing so, it opens up a ton of options for us, as well as a ton of just quality of life things that we'll be able to achieve by setting this all up. This will allow us to have our crusher completely upgraded and full speed ahead. So in between episodes, I set up this auto furnace over here. So now all of my gears are being sent to this and crafted through. That way I don't have to set up crafts to have the raw material made for each step. It just kind of frees up some crafting patterns because we haven't upgraded to the extended pattern providers yet. I did cheat a little bit and upgraded one of my pattern providers to the extended, but I'm not going to do the rest until we get to that point. And I think, to be honest, to just kind of jump right into this and get it going, I'm going to go ahead and set those up now and show you those and the reason to do the extended pattern providers, as well as possibly the upgraded molecular assemblers. So that way all of our auto crafting needs are a lot quicker and we can kind of just set and forget that for now. So I have the pattern set up for the extended pattern provider already, which is this one here, the pattern provider upgrade. And then we are also going to set up the molecular assembler for the extended one, because this one here, essentially what it does is each one of these towers has 8 assemblers. So we can have 8 different crafts going through here to craft individual items. And then the pattern providers each have a single line here. What the extended pattern provider does is it expands it times 4. So we'll have 4 lines of patterns that we can put in instead of a single one. So we're essentially taking all of these patterns that we have, or all the space for patterns that we have, and extending it by 4. The molecular assembler does something extremely similar. Here we have room for 1 craft. Once we put the extended in, that now turns to 8 crafts. So each individual one of these can do 8 crafts at a time, which just really will speed everything up and make it go a lot quicker. And now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make enough of these for each, so that it's going to be 8 times 4, because there's 8 pattern providers in each tower, and we have 4 towers. And looking at this craft, as you can see, it is a ton. It's going to take a bit of time. So we're going to go ahead and do the assemblers as well. And we are missing intro dust, so we're going to have to wait on that. Unfortunately, we have ran into an issue where I did not set these up correctly yet. So that way we always have intro dust, because I've been waiting for the mechanism. So unfortunately, we are going to need to do more intro crystals to do the assemblers, because while I've been waiting to do mechanism, I haven't been running the intro duplication, because our crusher is really slow. And by, well, doing that, we now have ran out of intro crystals and intro dust. So we're kind of lacking in that department. So we have all 32 pattern providers, and all you do is you shift right click, and now they're upgraded. So now we have a ton more room in all of our pattern providers. And then we will need to upgrade all of our other pattern providers as well. As it stands right now, we don't really need them because we don't have enough patterns there. The only one I really needed it for was this one here, and I'll want one for the crusher as well. I went ahead and made a single molecular assembler upgrade just to showcase how this works. So we break the current one, all of our acceleration cards come out, and we put the new one down. Right click here, put all the accelerations back in, and then as you can see, this is crafting job 1, and you can hit here and it goes all the way to crafting job 8. So like I said, this one molecular assembler is the same amount as this tower. So it is definitely worth upgrading to all of these, because it's just going to make your life easier and it's going to make auto crafting quicker, especially with these acceleration cards in. So with setting up the basics of Mekanism, we're not going to worry about the ore duping process here, because at this point we have so many ores moving through our gears that we don't need to increase the amount. We're going to have an overflow of resources, especially with the upgraded growth accelerators. This is great if you start Mekanism early and you need the resources. This is a great way to get a ton of resources very quickly. But for what we need at the moment, we're not going to worry about that. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to be doing the control circuits, all the different tiers, as well as all the different alloys. and setting those up so they're completely automated. So anytime we need them, they'll be crafted for everything. This will allow us to do the tier upgrades for the machines, all the speed upgrades and the energy upgrades, everything over here to increase the capacity and speed of our machines. This will also be the first step into getting into any advanced mechanism. So that way we are able to do the mechanism reactors and anything that's needed for the star. All right, so I've gone ahead and set up a little area over here for us to put our mechanism machines down. It's going to be pretty simple. And I figured just kind of keep it the same as over here to keep it semi-uniform, because eventually I will be moving this stack of computers here because, well, it's kind of an eyesore just sitting there. And we'll also be able to get rid of that extra cable over there that's running once we set up our wireless. I just, well, haven't gotten around to it yet, as it's a skyblock and, well, wireless doesn't really seem that important. For Mechanism, we have 4 different basic control circuits and 3 alloys that we're going to need to craft. These 7 items kind of open up everything in Mechanism. They're not the only thing you need, but they are the most important as they're pretty much used in everything. So we've already made the basic control circuits before with our metallurgic infusers. It's just redstone and osmium to create the basic circuits. With that, we can make enriched redstone, and within Mechanism, we have a good amount of enriched items. We have enriched carbon, enriched redstone, diamonds, obsidian, gold, tin, and iron. The most important ones that we're going to need right now are going to be carbon, redstone, diamond, and obsidian. Gold, tin, and iron are used in other things, and they're definitely worth doing. We just don't need those set up right this second. In order to make enriched, we need an enrichment chamber. We are going to need the advanced pattern providers. And then we're also going to need the advanced pattern encoder. And let's set these machines up. We're going to put one right here and one right here. Enrichment chamber there, our infuser there. And now we need to give them some power. For now, since we don't have wireless power set up, we're just going to run a cable over. And once again, we don't have wireless power yet because, well, I've just been lazy. There's so many things in this mod pack that I want to do and work on, and I keep getting distracted with new and fancy things. And wireless power has just kind of been on the back burner. It's the same thing with Mechanism. It's the same thing with the wireless applied energetics setup. I've just been putting off doing those things, and, well, they're all pretty simple, minus the power. There's just other things that I would like to get set up first. So I think in the next episode, we might tackle most of those problems. We'll see where we end up at the end of this, because there are just so many things I want to do. I keep getting distracted and my brain just keeps sizzling out on what I want to complete. So now that we have those down, we're going to go ahead and hit those with the advanced. And I actually don't think the enrichment chamber needs the advanced because it only has 1 input anyway. But this one here will need, and we obviously have a ton of leftover product in here, which is awesome. So the reason we want the enrichment chamber is because if I put a single redstone in here, that gives me 10 millibuckets of redstone. If I make an enriched redstone, that gives me 80 millibuckets. So for a single redstone, we are times 8ing the amount of redstone that we're able to use. Now, granted, we have plenty of redstone from our gears that we don't really have to do this. But it just makes sense to set this up, especially if you're starting this early into the mod pack and you don't have your gears going super speed, then this is a really smart way to spread out those resources. So we need to make some patterns. We're going to need to make a pattern for redstone, we're going to need to make a pattern for diamond, and we're going to need to make a pattern for obsidian. Now the obsidian step is a bit more complex than just putting diamond or redstone or even coal inside of here. What we need to do first is we need to make refined obsidian dust. To make refined obsidian dust, we have to put obsidian dust with the enriched diamond into an infuser to make that refined obsidian dust. And for obsidian dust, we need to put it through a crusher, and we put 1 obsidian in to get 4 obsidian dust. So with this step, we're going to need to make a ton of patterns and make sure we're putting them into the correct area, so that way this process can happen. So I've made all the patterns and put them into the pattern provider here. And now we need to go into the enrichment chamber and set up these settings. So we want to turn auto eject on, and we want to click this button to clear all side configuration. So come in here, we have energy going to the top, and that's fine. So under items, we want to set the back input or whatever input you have your pattern provider on to input output. That way anything that goes in here will come in through the pattern provider, come into here, go to the output and go back into the pattern provider to go back into our system. If we come over here and we request a enriched diamond, our machine should make that, and it is extremely slow, but it makes it and it sent it back to our system. And now we have one enriched diamond. So now that we have enriched diamonds, we can start looking at the patterns for the infuser. Now the patterns for the infuser are a bit more complex because it needs redstone with osmium to make the basic control. So it has one input here, one input here. And now, as you can see, there's a ton of different redstone types that you can use. You can use a redstone liquid, you can use raw redstone, you can use the enriched, all of the different things. It takes 20 millibuckets of redstone and 1 osmium to make a basic control. So it comes in as 0.2. We don't want this. So we're not creating the liquid. And you could if you want to. It's just a lot more steps for something that you don't really need to do. We're going to take the enriched, and 1 enriched gives us 80 millibuckets, which means that we're going to have 60 millibuckets left over if we only do 1 osmium for 1 basic control. And since these take 20, we realistically could make 4 basic controls by using 4 osmium, 1 enriched to make 4 basic controls. So now if we put that in our pattern provider, it's not going to work, because what it's going to do is it's going to send those ingredients in here and they're going to try and push everything right here because, well, as you can see, when we clear this for our item configurations, we only have the input output for the pattern provider. And this is why we're using the advanced pattern provider. So we're going to take that pattern out and we're going to use our advanced pattern encoder and put that pattern in here. And now what it's going to do is it is going to give us different options for the face of the machine that it's going to put that item into. So for now, we know for osmium, that's going to go into the back of the machine. And it goes based off of directions, so north, south, east, west. So if we look at the map right now, we are facing east. The back is the east. Now, we don't have to put that here because this is just automatically going to put this into the input if we have it set this. It's just the face adjacent to the active pattern provider. And that's what we have set to our input, so we're going to set that there. Now, if we take our enriched and we set that to, let's see, we go to the south because that's the front facing of this pattern, or of this machine. So we find the south target, and then you want to take it out of here for the advanced, and it turns it into an advanced pattern. So now we put that advanced pattern in here. And for this, we definitely want to turn blocking mode on so it doesn't try to send multiple different patterns in all at once since it's using different materials. We need to come into the side configuration and find the front and set that to extra. Because when you look in here, this is yellow. That means it's extra. It matches the color. We want to set our auto eject on. Make sure power is set so it has power. And now we come over here and request a basic control circuit. It's going to, even if we request 1, it's going to craft 4 because that's what we have the pattern set to. So if we come over and look here, right now we are crafting our 1 enriched redstone. And now that enriched redstone should get pushed into here. Maybe. I figured out my mistake. It wasn't working because I had it set to south and then I put it in the front, and this is not south. This is west. There we go. Okay, so for some reason, it was not working with setting it up for east and west. So what I went ahead and did is, I'll take this pattern out to show you. I set this back to the face adjacent and then set this to the down target. So it's technically being put in from the bottom. And then I just went in here and set the extra to bottom, set this to input output, and it was good to go. Now it's working. So the advanced patterns are kind of tricky, but it's really the only way to get the Mekanism machines to work correctly with patterns. And once you have that completely figured out, it now makes it a lot easier to do it. So now let's do the patterns for the infused alloys. For the infused alloys, it's 10 millibuckets of redstone with 1 copper. So if we do the redstone in here, the copper, we're going to get 80 millibuckets. So we can do 8 pieces of copper and we'll get 8 infused alloy every single time. And then if we move on to the reinforced, that is going to be an infused alloy with a diamond. If we put diamond in an infuser, that gives us 80 millibuckets. So with 80 millibuckets, it only takes 20 millibuckets for the diamond, which means that we can do 4 to get 4. And then if we move on to the atomic alloy takes 40 with 1. So now this is, instead of that, we switch this over and it is 2 and 2. And now we do the same thing we did with the other ones and we put those into our pattern provider here. Keep that here and put that on the down face, pull that out, take this, keep it here, put it on the down face, pull that out, and same thing with this one. And now we put those all in here. Now these are all craftable within our infuser once we get the obsidian set up. So now that we have that set up, I have also set up the tier upgrades as well as the energy and speed upgrades and the muffler upgrade. So that way we can start increasing the speed of our machines. The only tier that we can't go to yet is going to be the ultimate tier because we don't have the atomic alloy completely set up yet, which we will do once we get some of this upgraded. So we're going to go ahead and start with some basic upgrades, get 3 of those made, and then we're going to go ahead and do 8 times 3 for the speed upgrades because you're going to have 8 total in each machine. And we're going to do that for the energy upgrades as well. And then we'll go ahead and make 3 of the muffler upgrades. And while those are crafting, we'll go ahead and start increasing these. So on the crusher, you just shift right click, and now it changes it to the basic crushing factory. And you want to make sure you set auto sort on so it'll spread these all out. That way it can now do 3 at a time instead of 1, which just greatly increases our speed already. Now, if you hit over here, you can either shift right click the upgrades on, or you can hit this and it'll pull up your upgrades. Now, I do have 2 speeds in here already, which I forgot about, just to try and get this going quicker. You can also put the muffler or the upgrade right here, and I'll put it in here. The muffler upgrade's nice if you don't want the machine sounds going. It just makes it a little more bearable instead of having a ton of, well, this going on. And now it is nice and quiet. Depending on what type of setup I'm doing, sometimes I leave those out because I'll have like a section dedicated to Mekanism. And well, just having all those sounds going kind of makes it feel like you're going into a factory. But this is a nice computer area and I don't want this, well, making all that noise right now. So we're going to do the same thing here and upgrade both of these machines. Turn the auto sort on. And now all of this moves a lot quicker. So let's go over here and we've got speed upgrades going. So the one thing you want to be careful of is putting too many speed upgrades in before you put the energy upgrades because, well, the faster it goes, the more power it's going to use. And without the energy upgrade, which increases the capacity of power it can hold and reduces how much it uses, you're going to blow through it pretty quick. So for example, if I put 1 speed upgrade in here, this increases the effectiveness by 1.41. A second one in here, it's now at 2. If I put all 5 in here, it's now at 5. But it's now pushing through the energy that's available a lot quicker. Luckily, we are running off a 64 times magmatic generator, but as you can see, that energy is now going down rather quickly. But it's still filling back up at a decent rate, so we should be okay, especially once we get the energy upgrades in here. That should help out a ton, but this will be completely fine once we have some better power running. Now we have our energy upgrades. Hit that in here, and you can see the power buffer has gotten a lot larger, and we're going to go ahead and max out the speed on all of these as well. I have 2 extra because I already had 2 in there. So now that we have that set up, we're going to go ahead now and get our refined obsidian going. So for refined obsidian, we need diamond with obsidian dust to make refined obsidian. So it is 10 millibuckets of diamond with 1 dust, which means that we can do 8 dust to 8 refined. And then to make this refined, we need regular obsidian dust, which means we need to make the crusher pattern. So let's put our crusher pattern here. And then we need to turn this into an advanced. That stays here, and that hits the downside. Put this in here. And now we should be able to make our ultimate tier. So let's go ahead and make our advanced tiers, our elite tiers, and now our ultimate tiers. So now when I went to go start the ultimate tiers, it is saying that we are missing powdered obsidian. So one of our patterns is not using the correct right here. So we need to take this pattern, we put this back in here, set that to that, and pull that back out. I should be able to, nope. I think this pattern is completely destroyed now. So what we need to do is go to refined, metallurgic, going to set up, now it should going to obsidian dust. So that works. Go here, we set this to 8. We set this to 8. And all you have to do for that is middle mouse click to modify the amount. I forgot to tell you about that earlier. And now we should be able to set that as an advanced pattern. And let's go ahead and try and make our ultimate tiers. It says everything's available. And now that worked perfectly. So we can upgrade all of our machines to the final tier. And now they hold a ton of FE. They have a ton more slots. And craft so much quicker. So let's come over here and we'll test it out. We're going to make one ultimate control circuit. As you can see, this is all of the things that it's going to need to do. So it's going to need to make enriched redstone, enriched obsidian, enriched diamond. It's going to need a basic control circuit and then craft that into the ultimate control circuit by making all the different alloys. So everything we set up is now being used and utilized in this craft. And done. So everything we have set up is working completely fine. So with these 3 machines, we have all of the basics to Mekanism. We have our ultimate control circuit, which opens up the door for a ton of quality of life. We will be able to upgrade all of our power cables to the ultimate version, which stores a ton more power and transfers it a lot quicker. We will be able to make all of our other cables like water pipes, item pipes, all of that, which also move rather quickly. Although I think pipes mod is still a little quicker, but Mekanism's, well, just nicer because you get to see all of the things that are being pushed through it. Pushing water through it, you see the water. If you're pushing items through it, you see the items transfer, and it just looks a little nicer. This will also allow us to make the maximum size capacity tanks and our pressurized tanks as well for gases, and just open the door to all of the Mekanism things we will need to get into to craft the star. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was a pretty quick episode, just getting the basics of Mekanism going. And now we can start working on those few final steps we'll need of better power, wireless setup for our AE2 system, and be able to just kind of move on from there. And I think start looking at what we're going to need for the next star, as well as finally making a netherite template that we'll need to make all the modium templates and everything else we need, because, well, my sieves are still set to diamond tier because I just haven't gotten around to, well, doing that. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video if you made it this far, and hit that subscribe button if you're not already. I mean, if you're watching this episode, this is pretty far in. I think this is what, episode 8, 9, somewhere around there. I don't know, I'm losing track. But I appreciate your guys' support, and I will see you in the next one. Later.